Welcome back to another fun episode of Conversational Pace. I have my usual co-host with me, Finn Melanson. Finn, how are you doing today?
Amazing. Yeah, we had a very inspiring chat before hitting record. So I was already in a good mood, but it's fun to brainstorm. So I'm excited.
Yep. There's always things to be working on. And oh man, dude, if we can pull off this idea, this channel and your channel about to have a lot of fun. Today we have an interesting episode. Every single shoe that we're going to talk about, we've already done a full review for, but this is kind of our unfiltered, just 100% our own opinion trail super shoe review episode. So we are comparing the Nike Ultrafly, the Adidas Terrex Agravic Speed Ultra, Hoka Tecton X3, and North Face Vectiv Pro 2. I know there's a few from other brands that are not in this conversation, but we have kind of deemed these to be the top four at the current moment. So we're going to run through kind of a stats comparison of them, as well as just where each of us would be wearing this shoe for particular distance and technicality races, as well as listing off our favorite parts of the shoe, overall favorite shoe. Before we dive into it, a little disclaimer for the channel, because I'm supposed to do this. All of these shoes were provided to us by various companies and Running Warehouse, but we're under no financial obligation to say whether we like a shoe or not. All these opinions are our own. No one gets to review this footage before it gets published to YouTube. I'm going to put up a table of just the stats again for all the shoes up right now. And I'm just going to leave it up while we compare it. So the most expensive shoe is the Tecton X3 at $275. The cheapest is the Terrex Speed Ultra at $220. The lightest weight is the Tecton X3. Mine came in at 9.7 ounces in size 10. The heaviest, which actually surprised me, I might need to go reweigh, but it's been the same scale this whole time. The heaviest is the North Face Vectiv Pro 2, which came in at a tenth of an ounce heavier than the Nike Ultrafly. In terms of stack height, they're all pretty thick shoes. The only one that's interesting is the Vectiv Pro 2 being 26 and 32. I'm curious if that's just midsole foam and not counting like insole and lugs, because
That
just
has to be.
looking at it, it
That
looks
has
just
to be.
as thick as the other ones. It feels just as thick as the other ones, but I don't know. The only one that really drastically does feel different is the Hoka Tecton X3's 35 millimeter forefoot.
Yep.
And it's got the lowest drop, which I think is acceptable given the high stack of the shoe. The Terrex Speed Ultra and the Nike Ultrafly both having an 8 millimeter drop, I thought was very fascinating because they feel completely different. The Terrex Speed Ultra feels like a 0 drop, and the Ultrafly feels like it's at least 8. So it just goes to show, like, just what it shows by the numbers is not always what you end up getting in terms of real life usability.
Yeah.
So moving into, I don't know, what you said, I like the way you said it before, where you're like, should we just do it like a game show and just kind of rattle off some things with a little bit of back and forth?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
do
That's
it.
right. Let's do it.
$261, Bob.
By the way, for this episode, I'm going to live by the homage filter, or the tagline, filter tap water, not shoe opinions. We're going truly unfiltered here today.
Go and just dunk the bottle in the creek. Hope for the best. So, which shoe would you use for a fast sub ultra course of mild to moderate technicality? And we were trying to brainstorm just some races as examples. And like the first one that came to mind for me was like the Lithia Loop Trail Marathon, which I know not a lot of people have done, but there's
Real
some
ones
people
now.
who've done
Real
it.
ones now.
Yeah, the real ones now. What did you have for like a sub ultra of mild to moderate technicality?
So cue the game show music. I went Adidas Agravic Speed Ultra. Because I like the remnants of, or paying homage to at least parts of a good groundbreaking road racing shoe. This shoe, I think you might have said it on our review for it, but it kind of has shades of the 2016 Nike Next Percent, when like Shalane was just going wild with it at the 2016 trials. I love the stripped down upper, very rocket on the forefoot and the heel, so you're kind of constantly toeing off on your toes. That's really the only way to be, for me at least, when I'm in these types of racing environments. I want the free time on the course. The technology of this shoe alone is going to give me that. This is the closest shoe, I think, in the quiver that we're describing today or discussing today to that Next Percent. So that was my choice here. How about you?
Yep, non-technical or mild to moderate technical, sub ultra, also Terrex Speed Ultra. It's just it feels fast. I feel like I can legit like sprint in it. I can be very reckless on downhills. What about for a technical sub ultra? You know, I was thinking like some of the Cirque series races, maybe, you know, some of our more popular sub ultras over in Europe. Like I
Yeah.
know Sierra Zinal people say isn't technical just because it's really steep. I don't know, Marathon de Mont Blanc. Are you using any of these for a race like that?
I would be really curious to know if you and I disagree here. For me, it's absolutely not. I'm getting into something like the S Lab Pulsar 3 from Solomon. If we go way back in the CP archives, I might even pull out like the On Cloud Venture Peak 3. I want precise fit. I want ground feedback. I want strip down. I want that whole combination. I don't think any of these shoes really give you that. So I went no.
I also went no because I just don't have the like I am pretty good at descending pretty technical terrain fast. I'm pretty bad at doing it over and over again like in an ultra, but doing it a couple times fast, I'm a pretty coordinated person and I don't feel like either any of these shoes bring out that coordination. So normal Chirac, that's one where I feel so confident descending. A shoe that I've actually been running in a little bit recently that is immediately jumping up the ranks for technical sub ultra, VJ Lightspeed.
Okay.
It fits just like the Solomon Pulsar 2, Pulsar 3, the S Lab, but it has a carbon composite plate underneath and a little bit more cushion. So it's got a little bit more bounce and a little bit more protection, and it's got VJ's outsole rubber, which is the best.
Little prelude maybe to the end of the year episode. Is VJ in the running as like a comeback brand of the year for you?
Oh, 100%. I'm running in 2 of their models right now, and, what another new one just came out. We might do 1 or 2 more,
Okay. Cool.
before the end of the year, but definitely one of the most improved. So, interesting, neither of us both of us chose neither of these shoes for a technical sub ultra. Moving up to mild to moderate technicality 50K, you know, thinking way too cool, chucking up 50K, you know, Moab Red Hot 50K. What are you using?
So I'm going to caveat this one because I'm going to say this shoe a lot in the rest of the episode. And if regular viewers remember, I got my sizing off for the Speed Ultra, and it just made it so that I didn't put it to CP standards of getting like 100 miles in it. But I think if I was sized correctly, I would have similar experiences to what you had. I'm going with it again here. The only other asterisk that I'm going to put on this shoe, because I did feel it had one of the weirdest step in feels of any of the four super shoes we're talking about here, probably the weirdest. And it just felt like if I was going to put long runs in it or I was going to put it in a race environment, it was going to require a lot of me. And I'm not sure like how my ankles would do after the fact. I'm not sure like how my feet would feel after the fact. But I think in that mild to moderate, like way too cool type zone, I'm okay. I'm in the clear.
Yeah.
And again, the benefits are still, outsized. So I'm going with it.
Yep. I am choosing the Terex Speed Ultra for that mild to moderate 50K. It's still fast enough. The whole thing's running. It still feels the fastest to me. Like you said, it feels a little wonky on the calves and Achilles, but I ran the Black Canyon 60K in this shoe. Now that and that was prior to having the Vectiv Pro 2 or the Tecton X3. If I were to run it back and do that again, and now I get all 4 of these shoes to choose from, I am using the Terex Speed Ultra at the Black Canyon 60K.
Mm. Okay.
If we move up to like 50-mile 100K distance, like a race like the Black Canyon, you know, honestly, what's your goal? Is your golden ticket shoe for a lot of these, like Canyons 100K, Black Canyon 100K? We'll even throw it back to Bandera 100K, Lake Sonoma 50-mile. What shoe would you pick
So again,
for races like that?
I think this is I probably would do the Speed Ultra, but this is probably the distance where I cap out. Again, going back to what I was saying for the 50K distance, I just this is where I start to get nervous about time on feet because with this shoe, at least in like the 15 miles I ran on it, my foot was just like fully flexed, and
Mhm.
that's when I worry about like running economy and like the long term efficiency of my strength. I worry that cost is going to outweigh benefits. So if I get with the caveat that I get enough training miles in this shoe and have put in a fair number of long runs, maybe I go Speed Ultra. I'm gonna throw one other shoe out here that I'm probably never gonna say again in the review, just
Okay.
because there might be people that are just like brand devoted. I do think the Nike Ultrafly could work here. I will say also the window for this shoe is, as we have discussed, super tight. Like we both agree this is
Mhm.
a solid Western State shoe. Leadville just happened. You interviewed David Roche, awesome interview. I think you could probably run Leadville in this shoe, but I would also say like the carbon plate in this shoe is weird. It's pretty stiff. It makes steep ascending and steep descending like not practical. But I do like the width. I do sort of like the volume in the front of the shoe for longer distances. So I wanted to throw that in there as like if someone really likes Nike and they trust Nike, it's not a bad option for this arena.
This this is your honorable mention.
Honorable mention.
Okay. So I think as we move up to 50 mile and 100K, I am like a coin flip between the Terrex Speed Ultra and the Tecton X3. I think right now I lean towards Tecton X3 because I just raced the Waldo 100K in it. That is absolutely a golden ticket race dimensioned type course. Like, it's right there with Canyon's 100K. And it was so good. It was one of the most successful like feet outings I've ever had for 100K. I got some blisters on the tips of my toes in the Speed Ultra in the Black Canyon 60K. I have a hunch that could be due to sizing issues. If I went down that half size, I bet I wouldn't get those problems. But for me, I'm largely a comfort based runner, especially as it gets longer. And if I'm more comfortable, that's going to lead to me being more efficient, which is faster over time. So I'm going Tecton X3 for your golden ticket type race.
Very cool.
All right, jumping up, mild to moderate technicality 100 mile.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, when the first that's a very big range, because we'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, what if it's a Rocky Raccoon or Western States? I was thinking more Western States, like Western States, Leadville. I don't know. There's a lot of races that are kind of in that pocket of hundreds, especially out here on the West Coast. For this category, 100 miles, a lot of people change shoes. For this one, you're picking one shoe from start to finish. You are allowed to like change socks.
Mm.
What do you think for this scenario? We're totally making all this up, by the way. Are you allowed to swap out with another of the same one, or do you have to wear the same one from start to finish? I don't know if that actually changes my answer at all.
Yeah, I don't think it changes mine. I think I don't. It doesn't change my answer.
What do you got?
And this is for technical or
Non-tech,
mountainous. Oh, non-technical.
mild to moderate technicality 100 miles, like a Western States.
Mild to
Hilly 100.
So I'm probably going the Tecton X3, and I'm probably going the Tecton X3 because I think this is the most Swiss Army knife racing shoe in this super shoe quiver that we're presenting to the audience. I love hiking in the shoe. I actually did the majority. I did race in
Mm-hmm.
the shoe, but I did the majority of my miles hiking. And once I learned how to use the shoe correctly, I was shocked by how much I liked hiking in it. But also just like the comfort of the upper, the midsole foam is designed in a way that I feel good at a lot of different paces, not just hiking.
Yeah.
And I want that versatility in a 100-mile environment where a lot changes, a lot can go right, a lot can go wrong. I want that. I want it to be adaptable to not just like environmental conditions, but like my own physical conditions. And I think the Tecton X3 does that well.
I totally agree. I'm also picking Tecton X3 for a start to finish hilly 100 mile like Western States. The only worry that I have with Tecton X3 is the drainability, which has been an issue. Like that's why David Roach didn't wear it at Leadville. I would just need to do a little bit more testing. I felt like the drainage wasn't awful. I thought it was average.
Do you think it's
The
because of the
Terex
gator?
speed.
Is it because of the gator, do you think?
I don't Honestly, I mean, some people have said they thought the gator held hella water. I didn't think it did. Like when I went on a run with a bunch of creek crossings and like I was kind of slopping around in the shoe after like 5-10 minutes, I touched the gator and it didn't feel that bad. And like the upper didn't feel that bad. And I feel like it's something in the Strobel board or the actual top layer of PIBA that's like absorbing water. There's something weird going on there. But I was also running flat. I would be curious, like how, like if I get my feet wet and then run up a hill, like does the angle drain it out better?
Yeah.
Or if it's at like 100 degrees out and dry, like really low humidity like we see on the Western States course, that helps with your shoes drying out. I would just need to try a little more, but for the sake of like being knowing I can change my socks at aid stations and have to put the wet shoes back on, I feel pretty good about that. So Tecton X3 for our hilly 100. What about a flat 100 like Rocky Raccoon, like Javelina? Are you picking any of these shoes?
I think in that case, I'm moving to a road super shoe. Like, why wouldn't you run in like the Alpha Fly, for example? What would be stopping you there?
Alpha Fly specifically popping the air bubbles.
Yes.
But to your point, a road super shoe, I think I would pick over any of these still. Like I ran in the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3 at my first Javelina, and that's still my favorite shoe choice
Yeah.
for like any race I've done. I felt like such a genius after that, even though I did not invent that.
I mean, even at something like the JFK 50 mile, if we're going down in distance to something like JFK 50 mile, after I get off the Appalachian Trail and I'm on the tow path, and then those sort of like hilly forest or
Oh
farm
yeah,
roads after
you
the
get off the
last
towpath.
35
Give
miles, I'm
me
yeah.
give me triathlon laces and a road super shoe, and I'm doing strategic shoe change, and I think that's the go-to move. Next category is a technical or mountainous 100 miles. So we're thinking like UTMB, Hard Rock, Grand Raid. What else? Wasatch. I mean, there's a lot out
Wasatch.
there.
Yeah.
I said technical or mountainous because there's some that are technical, there's some that are mountainous, there's some that are both. Which shoe are you picking for this? And we can go. I mean, we could go on for hours being like, I would do this for this race and this for this race. I feel like for something like Hard Rock and UTMB, I'm probably wearing the same shoe at both.
Yeah.
Um, what about you? And pertaining to like those two, because they're like kind of the biggies. What
Yeah,
are
I
you
mean,
wearing?
I feel like I'll be a broken record, but to me, the Tecton X3 is the Swiss Army knife trail super shoe. I mean, you saw Adam Peterman wear it at Speed Goat. Did Ludo wear
Ludo
the two? Did Ludo wear the 2.5 or the 3 at Hard Rock?
2.5 at Hard Rock, Jim
Okay.
wore the 2.5 at Hard Rock, but, like,
Okay.
what word on the street is that that one's less stable than the 3.
Oh, interesting. I
So,
mean, that's impressive that
more
they did that.
bounce, less stable. So if they're using that, I have full confidence the 3 would work. I
Yeah,
would
and
also go with the Tecton X3. What's your honorable mention, though?
well, the
Since we
honorable
agreed on that
Yeah,
so
well, I'll
easily.
just say I do have an honorable mention. I will say one last thing about the Tecton. For me, the reason why I'm taking it in technical mountainous is because of how amazing the lockdown is on this shoe. In those
Yes.
steep technical, like ascending and descending, the shoe just wraps so well without pressure points, without like on a lot of these super shoes, I'll be running technical downhill and I'll walk away from it with like blisters on the toes of my feet because you're just slamming into the front of the toe box. That never happened in the shoe. So I love it for that reason. Um,
Yep.
honorable mention for me is North Face, the Vectiv Pro 2. And I think for me, it's mostly attributed to the way the plate is incorporated. And I'm going to steal your quote. It didn't try to super shoe me, which I think is important in these environments.
Yeah.
I could run a lot of different paces in this shoe without that like propulsive encouragement on the slower paces. I think the
Mhm.
stability and the shock absorption factors of the shoe are excellent too. Which I think is naturally great in these types of environments. Like when you can mechanically incorporate fatigue resistance into a 100-mile race, which is what like this shoe could do. I mean, your legs are just going to stay fresh for relatively longer. So yeah, with the North Face Vectiv Pro 2, I would say of the four shoes, that is the shoe that I felt like I was doing the least amount of work across a variety of paces in the same amount of miles.
Yeah. Yeah, my honorable mention was also the North Face Vectiv Pro 2, but not so much for the plate. For me, it was for the fit. That was the shoe that I also had no lockdown problems in that shoe on even the steepest of terrain. The only reason one of the big reasons why I'm choosing the Tecton X3 over the Vectiv Pro 2, the Tecton X3's outsole is far superior when it comes to running in the big mountains. On like a Western States type course, it doesn't really matter. Vectiv Pro 2, totally fine. Hard Rock Grip, dude, coming down Grant Swamp Pass, I do not want to be in a Vectiv Pro 2 on something like that.
No.
Give me the Tecton outsole.
Yeah.
for sure. Since we've got, since we've got UTMB coming up, so we just did UTMB. What about for OCC? What shoe would you wear at OCC?
I think because yeah, for those that don't know, the OCC course is basically the last 50K of the UTMB course, and you basically had the crux of the entire course is just these 3 successive steep climbs, steep descents. Some of it is carpety, some of it is technical, and it for most people in this audience, you're looking at anywhere between 7 to 10 or 11 hours time on feet. So you're really
Mhm.
dipping into that like 50 to 100K territory anyways, and I would do the Tecton X3 again.
I would go Terrex Speed Ultra for
Mm.
OCC. I think I can handle a race of that distance in the Speed Ultra. But when we go up to CCC, I'm going Tecton X3.
Even when you take off your fast media guy hat, are you still wearing the Speed Ultra?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Yeah, like I think that one I can survive OCC on that because I'm jamming those downhills a little bit more. I want a little bit more pop.
That is a
Um,
great downhill running super shoe. That probably is the best downhill running super shoe. Like,
yeah, which that we didn't have that category in there, but like just straight up favorite shoe. Tecton X3 favorite shoe to hike in. Terex Speed Ultra favorite shoe to descend in. I
yeah.
would say for me. Okay, here's some rapid fire questions. Which one has your favorite upper?
Oh, hands down, they are down by my sides. Hoka Tecton X3 again. The way this upper material, the way the gator wraps around the foot, it's amazing, especially again in those technical environments. Side bonus, nothing gets into the shoe. I have never been able to say that about any shoe. Maybe the Hokas and all too that had like a slight gator ankle collar thing going on. But yeah, the lockdown's amazing. I think you said this. I can't take credit for it, but I had the same experience. Like the way the whole upper in the gator thing, the way it disperses lace bite and sort of the pressure of the laces is amazing. Foot was not sliding forward, not slamming into the toe box. It's just like a dream scenario. And I
Yeah.
did say, I will take credit for this. I did say that of all the things that other brands try to snipe from this shoe, it could be that like high top gator. That and maybe somehow
Mm,
trying to find the same level of performance and stability on the same platform that they got with the X3 over the X2. Like
yeah.
just amazing.
So I'm gonna throw a little curveball here. My favorite upper is the North Face Vectiv Pro 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Lockdown, just as good for me as the Tecton X3, except this Vectiv Pro 2 upper is just lighter. I love the material. It's just like a classic mesh, but for some reason the dimensions of the upper fit my foot perfectly because it's a little lower volume. The Tecton X3 is a little baggy in the forefoot, which is fine, but I have such a better fit in the Vectiv Pro 2 in terms of just that upper. So I'm willing to sacrifice the Gator and the Matrix for the fit of the Vectiv Pro 2 upper. So I like that upper the best. And I love how breathable it is too.
And
Um,
you love the ribbed laces.
and the rib laces, of course. I was actually thinking about swapping out the Hoka laces for the ribbed laces. I'm curious how that would work with the I don't know all that's going on with the Hoka. Which one was your favorite outsole? And we were talking about this earlier. Usually, like that's kind of it's a weird question because there's a lot of different scenarios. And I think I'm gonna say just like which one's your just favorite outsole in terms of like overall usage?
Yeah, so I very dependent on environment, but if I'm in the mountains in the summer, X3 definitely the most aggressive lug. It's got a lot of bite to it. It's actually one of the reasons why I might not transfer that shoe over to like a Western States setting. If we're talking about Western States, I think I am going with the Vectiv Pro 2. That's more of like a racing outsole, not nearly as much rubber covering that midsole in that shoe. Just a totally different sort of traction experience. So yeah, X3, if we're talking about what I've been doing the last like 5 or 6 months for sure.
Yeah, I for the best outsole for most things, I'm going Tecton X3 as well. It's just got the biggest lugs, but it doesn't seem to weigh down the shoe. Great from a durability standpoint. And if you did like an outsole swap, like if you put the Ultrafly outsole on like all the other shoes, does it make the shoe better, worse, or no difference? Like I feel like the Tecton X3 outsole throwing it on any of the other ones could potentially improve all of the shoes.
Hmm.
The only one that I'm curious about is putting lugs that big on this Speed Ultra. That might get kind of weird, but
Yeah.
from a universal just usability standpoint, I'm going Tecton X3. Which shoe has your favorite shape? And that's pertaining to like underfoot shape. So mostly the rocker.
So I have two, and I want to name the honorable mention first. I feel so bad. I don't feel bad. I just want to give Nike some credit. I actually loved the shape of the Ultrafly. I loved that it was a high volume forefoot, but then it did a pretty good job of sort of tapering and getting to that medium width from the midfoot back. And I actually
Mhm.
liked that. That was a great
Mm.
experience. I want to give them some credit. But overall shape that I was most impressed by, again, the Tecton X3, because they improved the stability of the shoe. Once I figured out how to run in the Tecton X3, the stability factor actually blew me away because it's such a bouncy, like that foam is so
It's
freaking
so bouncy.
bouncy. And they were able to like maintain the same foot shape and like have a stability factor to it despite that bounciness. I was blown away. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. They did a good job with that for sure. My favorite shape rocker shoe is the North Face Vectiv Pro 2. I really like how the heel's beveled out just a little bit, and then I love the steep late rocker of the Vector Pro 2,
Yeah.
just like what we see in the Mafate, but it's, like, lighter and everything. On my honorable mention goes to the Tecton X3 because it's very approachable, it feels familiar, but I like the way that the Vective Pro 2 just, like, snaps me forward and feels effortless when I run in it. I get that in the Tecton X3, but I think that's because of the foam, so, like, maybe if there's some love connection between the 2 shoes, something good could come of that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Of all of the of each of the four shapes of these shoes, do you think one ultimately becomes the industry standard in the next few years? Like, do we see all the brands kind of conforming to one shape, or will there be sort of different philosophies there?
I don't think we're gonna see one shape. Cause like, for the last few years in road super shoes, it's, like, kind of flat heel midfoot and then, like, a long rockered forefoot because you're running flat races and you tone off. I think there's gonna be influence from every single one of these brands depending on where these shoes get tested, and that's gonna influence the shape ultimately of the shoe. I wouldn't be surprised if every single one of these brands put all their dollars towards making the perfect Western state shoe, they'd all come out pretty similar. But Tecton X3 is getting centered around UTMB. The Speed Ultra was Western states. North Face Vector Pro 2, I don't know. Ultrafly, I also don't know. And because of that, I think we're going to see lots of different uh, shapes and feeling rockers, which I like. I think that's more exciting and much less boring. But we'll see. Maybe in 5 years, it's just like all it comes down to is difference in materials. Uh,
Gotcha.
who knows? Which shoe has your favorite midsole foam?
I'm going with the Vectiv Pro 2 here. I thought long and hard about the Tecton X3, but I went with the Vectiv Pro 2 because
Really?
I think
Dream
there's
foam.
the dream foam, and my dreams did come true
Wow.
with this foam.
Oh
Dreams
my
do come
gosh.
true. I would say I attribute it to the feeling of work reduction, the feeling of sort of warding off fatigue in that arena of long, slow distance. I know that orthotics are
Huh.
going the way of the dinosaur, but it was kind of like having that feeling of a custom orthotic underfoot. So yeah, I think for all those reasons, given
Interesting.
that I am mostly in the camp, or not camp, but like it's just what I'm doing. I'm doing these multi-day races. I'm doing 100-mile races. I'm in the mountains for the most part. Uh, that type of midsole experience is pragmatic for me.
Wow. Okay. So as much as I love the bounce of the PIBA, the dual layer PIBA and the Texan X3, I think my favorite midsole foam feel is still Light Strike Pro in the Adidas. I think Light Strike Pro is not quite as soft, but I don't know. It's like feels just like it's got a little bit more responsive bounce. And who knows? Maybe it has something to do with the shape of the Speed Ultra and then the Technics 3. But like, I'm curious what it would feel like if you flip flopped. Like, would the Terex Speed Ultra feel better if it was made out of Hoka's PIBA? And would the Tecton X3 feel better if it was made out of Light Strike Pro? And I have a
Yeah.
hunch that the PIBA in the Terex Speed Ultra would make the shoe downright dangerous. And I bet that the Tecton X3 gets even a little bit better if it's got Light Strike Pro.
Mm, okay. We went a
It's
long
almost
time there without Speed Ultra. That was like 5 or 6
yeah.
segments. So it's come
It's
back.
it's almost it's almost a wash though between Light Strike Pro and Hoka's dual layer PIBA.
I hope they rename that midsole foam. Like they need something like Dream Foam, you know, the Dream Foam or Light Strike. It just sounds great. Dual layer P, but like put a name on it.
That's just factual, like it's facts. Like they used to, like they need to give it a ProFly sort of thing again. Bring back RMAT. Okay.
Or like call it like Chamonix foam, or you know, like
ShamWow. That's the one.
that is it. That is it.
That's
That
the
has to
one.
be
That's
it.
the foam. The
That
foam.
has to be
The
it.
patents. The patents for
Come on,
Billy
Hoka
Mays
marketing team, live a
here has
little.
got to be expired now. Buy that out. Bring back Sham. Give me ShamWow foam. Oh my gosh. Okay. Which shoe had the best step in feel impression? Like which one wowed you the most when you put it on immediately, and which one was the worst?
Yeah, the worst first. I mean, Adidas Speed Ultra was
Yeah, hands down.
trippy, like the like super rockered. I know it's like, and it was initially designed for downhill in mind. It's got that really aggressive forefoot rocker, really aggressive heel rocker, which I think is pretty unique for what we've encountered. But it just like, I remember when I stepped in it initially, my first feeling was like, oh my gosh, like this like immediately put me on my toes. Like if
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
so crazy. There's
Sketcher
a breaking
shape
thing.
ups vibes for sure.
Totally. So that was, I don't know. I don't know if that's a bad, again, another
Well,
common
the shoes
theme.
aren't meant for standing, so I don't think it really matters. But
Yeah.
a large portion of why shoes get sold is the impression that gets made when you try it on in the shoe store. So that's why I asked this question of which one
You know,
had the best initial step and
you
feel.
you know what else put me on my toes was the Ultra Forward experience. When we did that road shoe test, that shoe also put me
Huh.
on my toes in a weird way. But anyways, that was the weirdest one, probably the worst one. And then best is, yeah, definitely the Tecton X3. For everything we've talked about earlier in this episode, I think, you know, one of the best fits, pretty darn comfortable ride in all environments, hiking, jogging, sprinting,
Yeah.
bouncy, stable, the Gator, great.
Yep. Yeah. Worst step and feel, worst first impression was definitely Terrex Speed Ultra, just because it just feels so strange, and you just have to trust that it's going to work after like 40 or 50 miles of running. I am so torn between, for the step and feel, like the Tecton X3 was awesome because of the bounce and everything. And the upper is comfortable enough, but like, gosh, the Nike Ultrafly had a great step and feel too, because it's got some pretty bouncy Zoom X foam, and it's got a decently pronounced arch shape underneath, which I really like. And the lacing system around the Ultrafly, it wraps my midfoot so good. So that was a very pleasant, like, first try on experience as well. I think I'm gonna give the nod though to the Tecton X3, because when you laced them up and then I stood up, the smoothness of just the PIBA foam, I was like, dude, trampolines. Like the trampoline effect was pretty big in the Ultrafly, bigger in the Hoka, and it felt a little smoother in terms of the shape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're on our last category, and this one is an interesting one, which was, Finn, if you could Frankenshoe a combination of bits and pieces from any of these four models, you get free reign. You can just, you know, Nike, North Face, Hoka, Adidas collab. You get to pick anything you want from these shoes. What are you putting together to make your perfect trail shoe, given that you have four trail shoes worth of tech and pieces?
Give me Tectonics upper. Give me North Face midsole. Give me Tectonics outsole. And I'm just spitballing here, but basically,
Would
if
you
I had to
take
go
the
with,
North Face's plate position as well, or
I
would you
think I
swap out a
would. Although
plate?
I can't, if I and I have, I'd have to go back and rewatch the North Face review we did. I think that was Western States Week, but I'm pretty sure I didn't notice the wings, and the stability factor could have also been attributed to like the sidewall overlays there towards the front. I can't remember
Mhm,
exactly, but
mhm.
yeah, basically with the upper, it's the comfort factor in the Tecton X. With the North Face midsole, I feel like I'm working the least in like longer day, multi-day settings. And then with that Tecton X outsole, it's just the most bite in the mountains.
I think that would be a pretty sweet shoe. All right, here's mine. Okay. So give me the Vectiv Pro 2 upper in terms of the dimensions, but I want to swap out the midfoot with Matrix. But I want the mesh forefoot. Okay. So we got that. Keeping the speed ribs. for the laces, of course. And then give me the Vectiv Pro 2 midsole shape and the rocker, but I want Hoka's plates in the middle. Like I want to split the foam and have two parallel plates in it for the North Face Vectiv Pro 2 shape. I want that foam to be made of Adidas Light Strike Pro, and then give me the Adidas Terrex Speed Ultra outsole lug pattern, but make it Vibram light base mega grip. And I feel bad because I actually neither of us grabbed any pieces from the Ultrafly bucket. Interestingly, also interestingly, it's the oldest of these shoes. It's been out the longest. So it's pretty amazing how we're seeing in the trail running world how fast the tech is going and how the Ultrafly is already starting to look a little bit obsolete. Since that's on my mind, which one of these are you looking forward to the next generation of the most? Ultrafly 2, and this is purely speculation. Like we don't know anything about any of these shoes. Like if you're
Yes.
just
Total.
using your imagination.
The rainbow.
Yes. If you're using your imagination, what you figure the next generation of these shoes would evolve to, which one are you most excited about?
Well, when we did our year in review episode last year, it was either you or I, maybe both of us. I think we labeled like Nike as the comeback brand of the year, and I'm excited to see what they do across the board. But I'm very excited about the next gen Ultrafly. I would say that one probably stands out to me. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Ultrafly too.
I'm most excited to see what Adidas does with a Terrex Agravic Speed Ultra 2, because if they can just like fix the sizing issues, fix some of the upper problems, but like not mess around too much with, the midsole foam and the outsole and the plates and stuff. Maybe just make the shoe a little bit less weird. Dude, that could be a sweet shoe. Yeah, I think that's the one I'm most forward to seeing next.
This is a hypothetical, and I'm going to try to frame it in a way that does not implicate or reveal any brands. But I'm going to name 7 brands, and I want to get your take on the number of them that have a super shoe offering by, let's say, July of 26. Okay, Brooks on Solomon Normal Norda.
So they're all missing a trail super shoe. I bet by 2026, the only one that doesn't is normal. I bet Brooks on Norda. What was the other one?
So Brooks on Solomon Normal Norda.
Solomon. Yeah. Brooks on Norda Solomon. Definitely all of a trail super shoe within 2 years. I feel like normal's not going to. I think they're gonna keep pushing into the durable, good for the environment,
Yeah.
non-plated, that sort of shoe. So I bet we still don't see what was considered a trail super shoe by today's standards from normal. That was a good question. That's actually interesting though, that there's still a good handful of companies, big companies, that don't have a trail super shoe yet. We'll have links below if anyone wants to try out, the Ultrafly, Vectiv Pro 2, Agravic Speed Ultra, or the Tecton X3 to get from our friends at Running Warehouse. Actually, apologies because I'm pretty sure the Vectiv Pro 2 is out of stock and has been for a while, and I don't have an update on a restock. But if you want to try any of the other ones out, feel free to use our purchase links below from our friends at Running Warehouse, because your purchase helps us test shoes like this and ramble about them in terms of our favorites and where we would use them. So it was a fun episode. I think it was a good comparison. Awesome. I hope it sheds some light onto people, because there's a lot of shoes out there right now, and we're just trying to help make sense of it. If anyone has any questions though, let us know in the comments. We will answer them for you. Thanks again, and we'll catch everyone in the next conversational piece.